a little music before we start. That's all I had up was the theme. So there you go. Okay. Hold on. We got 20 seconds. I know. That's all I had, guys. Sorry. All right. I'm going to roll this back. Here we go. Here we go.
We're talking politics today. Caffeine, you're on the bench. Xanax, suit up. The Kate Daly Show starts now.
In foreign wars, you said Air Force One should be parked, no more foreign trips.
For an America First president, the number one focus should have been domestic policy, and it wasn't. And so, of course, I was critical because those were my campaign promises. Once we fix everything here, then fine, we'll talk to the rest of the world.
She said in her resignation video that the president has gone establishment, forsaking the base and her.
If I am cast aside by the president and the MAGA political machine and replaced by neocons, big pharma, big tech, military-industrial war complex, foreign leaders, and the elite donor class.
Are you saying that the president now is siding with those establishment powerful people and against MAGA?
He passed a crypto bill that helped out all the crypto donors. He has served Israel's interest, even attacking Iran. He has served Big Pharma. He didn't take away the COVID vaccines that we want to see taken away. So those are the areas that are still getting everything they want, while the people, we're still out here saying we want to see action on areas for the American people, not for the major industries and the big donors.
You went after his, I think you said, trying to entangle us in foreign wars. You said Air Force One should be parked, no more foreign trips.
For an America First president, the number one focus should have been domestic policy, and it wasn't. And so, of course, I was critical. And he was extremely angry at me that I had signed the discharge petition to release the files. I fully believe that those women deserve everything they're asking. They're asking for all of it to come out. They deserve it. And he was furious with me.
What did he say?
He said that it was going to hurt people.
All right. Welcome, Kate Daly Show. Of course, that interview last night on the 60 Minutes, and welcome to the show today. All right. So we have so much to talk about. You guys know this because it's Monday, which means it's Dr. Duke Besta is joining us. How are you, Duke?
Doing well. Good to be with you guys.
Excellent. Yeah, definitely. So it was interesting, this interview. And what was your kind of... when they do these interviews, 60 Minutes is an interesting thing. Okay, Leslie Stahl looked like the Crypt Keeper, but honestly, I was just like, ooh, oh, ouch, get that soft mood lighting on her. But and I don't mean to be mean. It's just that she's been at this for a long time, but she's also very much a person that I think has been very controlled in media. And so it was interesting to see her with her question list, and it was an interesting exchange for sure. There's a lot to talk about today, but I just wanted to start with this.
To me, CBS is fake news. I mean, they have more than almost any other daily or once a week program. They are the most spun to the left. There's just no doubt about it. They have no ability to claim that they are neutral. They are very partisan. And you and I both know if this was a Democrat turning on Biden or turning on Obama, they would never get on 60 minutes. They just never would have happened.
Yes.
And so despite the fact that MTG is a bit of a train wreck to begin with, the left has now, got their claws in her. They, not because they care or not, they just want to abuse Trump with this. And the other thing that bothers me from the conversation from her is if you're the president of the United States, you have to do multiple things. I would argue that the first thing he did was try to clean up immigration. That was one of his major promises, and he stuck to it. He said he was going to try to get a handle on local crime. Whether you agree with his methods, he's tried to do that. And when it comes to the economy, He's been liberating gas and oil from what Biden did to it. It's undeniably true that gas is down all across the country, and it's going to be probably lower and more affordable next year. And then all these trips have had a purpose. Whether you want to argue the president has the power over tariffs or not, he's brought in trillions of dollars from foreign countries. That's going to take some time to bleed into the economy. But so to me, you can't just do that and ignore what's going in other places. If you're the president of the United States, you can't park Air Force One and say we'll come back to the world in 2 years after we iron out the environment or the economy. It just doesn't work that way.
I mean, there's a couple of things. Number one, I don't think she's a train wreck. I actually think some of the things she's saying are very, very true. And I think she and Thomas Massie have always kind of been out there, right, on the microphone, kind of voicing a lot of things that people are thinking. So he didn't do anything about the shots. We're not really taking those away. The things that she mentioned, I actually appreciate those things because they're true. And I was so shocked that the report that, there's, all these deaths, but we're only going to point out, the 10 kids, and that's it. From the government, you didn't really hear anything about Trump. Why isn't Trump out there talking about that? Why isn't he saying, okay, where's the rest of the reports? I mean, there's a lot he could be saying. So she's an interesting one because she's taking herself out of the game, which is weird. Why is she not staying in? So that was a surprise to me but I also know that we have a lot of, let me just put it this way. There was a great meme and it said, once you figure out that they've got the argument and the counter argument controlled, you're not truly awake. And I'm like, yeah, I agree with that. I do agree with that. There's a lot to this. I think that when people get picked for their roles in Congress and Senate, and I do mean picked because of the status of our elections being fixed, that you're going to have a control of the argument and the counter argument in the press. But it is weird that she's taking herself out of this. So that was kind of crazy. But I don't see her as a train wreck. I think there are a lot of things that she has said that I have thought or people have thought out there. Don't you think?
I think she is a train
okay,
wreck. I do think that she says some good things. She's not, but she's no Tom Massie. No way. He's got a 30-year career of being who he is. She's a relative newcomer. And she's, like you said, she's already taking her kickball and going home. And she's also acting like a spurned lover with Trump somehow. But you're right.
I will agree with that. That is really, well, I think it's fodder for media, to tell you the truth, like a big distraction, at the same time.
Absolutely.
But yes.
Look, I'm going to say this. I think she's an attention whore. I don't think Massie is. I think she is an attention whore. I really do. I think that she's intemperate. But I'm going to say what you said. I think I agree with probably 75% of what she says. But that doesn't mean that I would not put her in the category of a Massie. And I do think she's got a lot of baggage with her. But again, I go back what I said before. Yeah, sure. I mean, there's 1,000 things that I'd like the president to do, but he can't do all of them. And I mean, do we think now that Trump is somehow in a conspiracy to keep COVID from us? I don't think that's what's happening. And
well, he certainly isn't he isn't really bringing a lot to light. Like he's not saying, let's get rid of the emergency orders that flipped the world, and let's talk about those shots and let's really look at and examine. He's not doing any of that though. That's kind of,
it seems to me there's just such a glut of things that have to be done. And I'm as horrible as COVID is, I think he's been doing other things. I mean, Donald Trump, he's not, I'm going to say this again. He's not a conservative. He's really not a Republican. I mean, but I'll tell you this, in my lifetime, he's the one president who's done the most in the first year that he said he was going to do. I think that's actually fair to say. Much of what he said he was going to do, he's tried to do. And I have not seen that in any politician going back to my lifetime. Okay. And even if I don't always agree with his methods, he's trying to do what he said he was going to do. And there's just so many fish to fry. There's so many things that are wrong. You can pick anything and say, well, how come he didn't this? And yeah, I'd like to see that done too. But it's not even been a year yet. And then so from that perspective, why not stay in Congress and, realize that this is a 4-year hitch for him, not just a 9-month, get all upset after 9 months, 10 months of actual governance. That just strikes me as, what's the word? Stereotypically female.
Okay.
How about that?
All right. Well, I'm not going to disagree with that. I just feel like there's some things going on. Either she is being blackmailed to step down, because I think that whenever somebody gets picked for, there's that word again, the Senate or Congress, depending on the party, they get to, I think they're picking the people, then I think there's substantial things about them. And I think that she very much could be that, or this is being sort of like thrown out there for distractions. Okay, so here's another distraction. And I just wanted to kind of put this out there because this is on the top of Drudge, and I can't stand Drudge. Okay, Drudge is so bad. Anyway, they're just, they started out okay, and then they just went horrible. They got totally taken. But here it is. The headline for the New York Times is Trump stands in the middle as Netflix and Paramount vie for the mega deal. And I'm laughing because why is the president of the United States in the middle of the Netflix and Paramount vying for a mega deal anyway? And he shouldn't be. And there are things that that he is doing or accused of not doing or accused of doing that are not legally within the constitutional let's say, parameters of the office of president of the United States. So I'm watching all these headlines, and I think that this is more of a distraction than anything. I think the Marjorie story, if you were to take your emotion out of it, and I also think, not you, but just generally and for the public, I also think that if you took your emotion out of it and you really looked at the way that they play figures off of each other, and because I think that they're picked, see, that's where that's stemming from, then I would say these are just major distractions, and that she's told to walk away. I'm going to take a phone call really quick here. And by the way, the number is 435-680-2503. It's on the bottom of the screen, I think. Let me go check. And we'll take a caller. Go ahead, caller.
Yes, first of all, when the president goes outside of his authority to do something, force some action, that is by definition dictatorship, tyranny. That was the definition that was given to us by the founders of tyranny. And one of the definitions of tyranny is also cruel. The president, I disagree with Green on one thing. I agree with much what she said. And you too, Dr. Pesta, on the same point. Trump has done a lot domestically, a lot of harm. He said the first day he was going to stop inflation. First day, and ever since, he's been increasing inflation. By definition, inflation has increased the money supply. Very few Americans know that definition. All that deficit spending that he received, inherited from himself and Biden, he continued that and expanded it, and it's also increased the debt. He also increased the tariff tax. So that's another way increased the cost of goods and services.
Because it should be tariffs or taxes, not both, is what you're saying.
No, tariff is a tax.
Yes, but I'm saying it's an additional tax on top of taxes we're already paying. So that's it's making it very difficult.
Yeah,
yes,
these are new taxes.
You have to take away one or the other. Yeah.
That's right. And they're illegal taxes because he has no authority. So it's tyranny there as well. And then he established the principle that the president can murder whoever he wants to. That is by definition murder. When you blow up people on these boats off the shore, some of them are 3,000 miles from America. A bunch of them are out in the Pacific, 3,000 miles out in the Pacific. He's blowing these people up because they got a drug allegedly on board. Okay. And allegedly, the huge increase in the spending. I mean, he's done a lot domestically that's harmful.
Okay. Thank
Not
you
just
for the
yeah,
call. I really appreciate
sure.
the call. I mean, there's a lot that you said. We can dissect a little bit of that, but what are your thoughts, Duke?
Well, I mean, I don't agree with him. I don't
Yeah.
disagree with him, but we kind of weren't talking about that. We were talking about MGT,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't think many of the things that the caller just objected to, I don't think MGT would have objected to that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think she would have. So, I mean, if we stick to where we were talking about MGT.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think the things that the caller just said, and I think most of what he said is true, but that doesn't. I don't think that's what MGT is angry about. To tell you the truth, I think she's I think she's the same kind of Republican he is in some ways. So I mean, what I see her getting angry is not that stuff. She's not challenging Trump on those things. I mean, I think what she's trying to say is that he should have immediately fixed the economy. And that it takes time to do that, no matter what you do. And as the caller said, some of the things that he's done has prolonged it. Others have helped, but some has. So it's just one of those things. I mean, we could go back into the conversation we always fall into when
we've done that to death.
With certain callers, we always get dragged back to the question where we have to all start screaming that he's a dictator. Okay, there's not enough times you can say it. I know that, but in this case, I don't think we were talking about that. Even though I think he's right in what most he said.
I think there's a twist. You know, people say he's a dictator, and I've never actually agreed with that. I actually think that he is he's very controlled, as they all are, just like Reagan was, just like Bush was, just like Clinton, just like Obama, just like all of them. Okay. And I think that what the object of being in it, well, okay, how do I say this? It's a Monday. Okay. You're controlled. So when you're propped up to do the job, because it's controlled, because there are people that are pulling all the puppet strings, the object is to accuse him of that on a regular basis. So that becomes the argument, instead of people seeing how controlled the presidency truly is. So I think it's part of the theater of, we present you and here's some media fodder to get the leftists who are completely 100% emotional, all like unraveled, is to just keep saying the word dictator. But I think that's part of the script. And I think that there's a direction, there's like a directional move there, so that people argue over that instead of the issues. Right now, especially with that report coming out, it would have been good to have seen more commentary on what happened in 2020 and what happened in 2021 and 22 with the shots and 23. That would have been preferable for me. I would have loved to have seen that happen, but it didn't. And of course, we have all this other fodder, and I think that's by design. So if you're coming at it like from my point of view, when people get into an argument, like into statements that are very much toward his personality, then I just go, yeah, that's not where I'm at. I'm at looking at the whole thing and saying, this is so controlled that there is these scripts, I think, that come out for them to play certain parts, whether it's against each other or whether the press takes it and runs with it, whatever the case may be. But that's because I'm coming from a place where I'm looking at the election stuff and I'm going, yeah, there was a placement. Same reason that I could say he was going in 3 years ago and say, you know what, audience, he's going in and they're going to put him in. And this is why, when no one thought he was going to go in because of all the trials, remember? So I think that's where I'm coming from, is seeing it just with a different twist, I guess, if that makes sense.
Well, I think that's true. I also think that Trump is personality wise, considers himself the final authority. I mean, I think it's why he gets involved in petty things. It's why he wastes what.
See, I think that's by design. I think that's scripted. I do. I think it's not scripted like they're actually reading off a script, but this is what's supposed to be in front of our eyeballs all the time instead of ever talking about the bigger issues, the things we have in play, what happened to elections in 2004, what's been happening to us with tyranny and digital stuff coming in and digital ID and all of those moves. There's nothing really happening to stop that, nor is there any removal whatsoever of the deep state. That's why I think that it's more, and I'm so sorry to interrupt. That it's just that's why I think this is so theatrical play for all of us to be talking about. They want us just to be talking about Marjorie today, Marjorie and Leslie Stahl, the Crypt Keeper. So,
well,
do you know what I mean?
I'm sure the left wants that because I
think both.
It's also true that anything that even in the remotest is going to make Trump look worse than he is, they're going to be all over that. I mean, that's absolutely for sure. But I mean, so are you suggesting he's deep state as much as Biden was? Is he?
Oh, I think it's all deep state. Yeah, I think 100%. I think the whole office of the presidency is. Yeah, I don't think
so. I mean, certainly that's a possibility. I mean, he's different. He's a different kind of deep stater than some of the other ones we've had.
I don't know. I think the scripts just are getting a little better. But see, a lot of conservatives will disagree with those statements for me, and I understand why. And it goes back to, and not to belabor this because we've been over this so many times, but just going back to when I said, he's going in and they're going to pick him for this office, and everyone thought I was nuts for saying that. And I put a lot of credibility on the line because people were genuinely like not happy with me saying this, and that I was like some sort of like traitor, right? I'm like, no, just look at the whole thing because something's wrong here, and they're already telling you in the media that he's going to be vying for president, and I just knew in my gut that they were going to put him in, regardless of what the media was saying about his trials. And so if I could say that and I could go back to that, and I knew that then, yeah, I very much think that everything about the presidency is deep state, coordinated, and there is nothing real about the presidency. But you can answer that in just a second. I just want to take a phone call really fast. I also want to address Pearl Harbor and all kinds of things today. But go ahead, caller, you're live.
Hi. I just think this whole Marjorie Taylor Greene got in because she thought she could do some good work as a representative. Now she's seeing that all she can do is argue a point in the chamber and always get shut down.
Right.
So now she's exiting representation and she's going to go back to something that she thinks, or basically go back to civilian life where she can be a lot more effective.
Okay.
And I think that civilian life actually is more effective. The thing is, it can act as a distraction, the whole Trump versus MTG argument, because, well, there are more important things that are being put through by executive orders, such as, for instance, AI centralization. That's a big issue that no one's talking about because of the struggle within the Republican Party. The thing is, we Republicans have a tendency to eat our own.
Well, I think because we're a little more objective about what's happening, we're not just, I don't see us on the emotional roller coaster of the leftist party.
Oh yeah. We're not on that roller coaster. But the thing is, we do have a tendency to say, well, this is the thing. I call everyone out on anything that they do that is absolutely distasteful, such as AI centralization. AI is a tool. If you centralize Craftsman, Ryobi, or DeWalt into one company, you're creating a monopoly. And that is illegal according to our system.
Yes. I'm gonna let Dr. Pesta comment on this, and I so appreciate the phone call. Thank you so much. Go ahead, Pesta.
Well, I thought it was a great
Pesta?
observation that
Yeah.
she's probably better off
Yeah.
not in Congress. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
she was very grandiose
Mm-hmm.
and annoyed a lot of people, and which is not a bad thing to annoy people, but
Mm-hmm.
I think she overestimated what she was going to get done. I think she had her own agenda, and she sort of foolishly thought that the president was on the same page as her.
Mm-hmm.
And when she found out that wasn't the case, I think she had a come to Jesus moment where she decided to get out of it. But she, like I go back to what I said before. I mean, she really liked the spotlight. And you know how I know it?
Mm-hmm.
Now that she's talking to any lefty who sticks a microphone under her face, she's happy to talk about that as well. I don't see what she said on 60 Minutes the other day. I don't see that helping anybody get closer to what she says she wants. So there's that aspect of it as well.
Okay. Do you think that they could control one president but not the other when they put somebody in? Do you think that they would take a break or take a step back, the deep state?
Say that one more time.
So if they could control, I'll give you, so if they could control Biden and they could put Biden in when you know that America did not vote for him and he wasn't the most popular man in history, don't you think they can control Trump? I mean, if they can control one, couldn't they control the other?
So I guess my question so you're saying the whole time he was running the second time, he was a chosen candidate.
I don't think we've had a real president for decades. I really don't. I think that it's a lot of pomp and circumstance, and I think there's a lot surrounding it to make us think that our elections matter. But I think that all the deep state moves have brought us to certain things that have happened along the way, and nothing is ever repealed that's happened to us. Liberty stolen, and even like in our healthcare, everything, nothing ever goes the other way. So I would say if they could control Biden's election and they could put Biden in, even though I think America actually voted for Trump in 2020, then they can control this election. But I think they've controlled all of them. I mean, for decades.
Certainly that can be true. But if it is true, then we should be able to predict with some accuracy who are they going to pick next. So I'm not asking for a name, but what qualities then? So they've pivoted from your thesis. They've pivoted from Biden to Trump for a reason. And then the question should be, and if this has been controlled for a long time, the question is, without needing a name or a particular candidate, what kind of a president are they going to follow up with after Trump is done?
Well, we had a part black one. The next one would be a woman. So they, if I had to hedge a bet on it at this point, they will groom a woman. Not sure who that is yet, but they will be grooming a woman, and that she'll probably surface in the mainstream media within the next year, and they'll start interjecting, talking about her as a possible contender. And I actually think it would be a woman.
Democrat or Republican? Or does it matter?
Well, it doesn't matter generally because the deep state runs the show anyway. But I think that it will actually be a Democrat. I actually think what they'll either do is something's going to either happen to Trump or they put JD Vance in, because the media has kind of been telling us this, that he is so presidential and da 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 da. So the idea would be then to have Vance succeed him, or they put in a woman who's a Democrat. It would not surprise me at all. Either way, if it went either way.
Well, I mean,
but we get the same outcome.
I think the woman is a good idea. I mean, it's a good candidate to pick for this. Now they ran two very high profile women, didn't get anywhere. You think, it seems to me that if I were them, if I'm playing the deep state, if it were me, I would choose a malleable female on the Republican side, much more than the Democrat. I mean, it would seem to me that to play this out the way you're saying it, it seems like if you had a charismatic woman on the right, I think that would
not surprise me at all. would not
Yeah.
surprise me at all. Yeah, because they like to go for the illusion of, see, this makes everything better now. Now all of you, because do you remember when they put weirdo Obama in there, and it was see, now our world's going to come together. Now we have a black president, and what did it do? Nothing except create more divide. So it always backfires because it has nothing to do with gender or race. It has everything to do with is the person actually going to stand for anything, which they aren't, because when you're that high up, you're going to have to be picked. So, and you're going to have to get the nod from certain countries across the pond. And so there are things that happen when you're in the presidency. There's no way an outsider is going to ever get in. They started that road back in the early 1900s, and it has not changed. So I just don't feel like, well, they're going to check the boxes because they want to give us a lot to talk about and to think about. Oh, look at us, we're evolving, we have a woman. And I actually don't think a woman should be in that spot anyway, even if the presidency was true. I really don't. I think that I think actually it should be a guy, but that's just me. And a lot of women are going to disagree with me saying that, and that's fine. But I do think we're gonna get constantly handed the sort of like when they did the last moon trip, right? They wanted to go to the moon. Of course, they never do, but they wanted to go to the moon, and they made it look like a big UN poster, right? So you had the Chinese guy, and you've got you've got everybody represented, and it's getting ridiculous at this point.
No, I agree. But and so I'm just playing out your suggestion. Yeah. And think about it. The Obama moment was, oh, look, we've moved past racism.
Yeah.
When he was the racist president of our lifetime.
Right.
And now, so if you had a Republican woman, and I actually think the Republicans would be more likely to elect a woman than the Democrats, for all the Democrats talk. Their feminism is completely false. And notice when they do elect nominate women, the Democrats, they're the most insufferable women. So I mean, there's that.
Yep.
I think it's more likely to happen with the Republicans if it does. And then that would be the big kumbaya. The sexist Republicans elected the first woman president, and oh my gosh, the world will change, and then it'll be more of the same.
More of the same. Absolutely. Yeah, I totally agree with that. For a long time, over the last 3 years, I've not for a long time, but for over the last 3 years, I've said that they were really grooming Vance to be president. So it would not shock me if something happened, they blamed it. It would be a total false flag. They would blame it on, of course, another country or somebody doing something to Trump and then putting Vance in. That would not, during this term, it would not shock me at all.
I've grown in the opinion, and I believe it now. I don't think any Republican's going to win in 28. No way. I think that so many of the Trump followers are following him, not the Republican Party. And now with Charlie Kirk gone, no one's going to be doing the heavy lifting. No one can do what he did. And so all that heavy lifting with the younger generation is gone. And if you look at the new surveys out, looks like young people are reverting back to Democrat quickly. And again, with his absence, that big void, I don't see any Republican winning in 28. And I've even gone so far there to think to myself that we may not get a Republican president in the next 30 years. I mean, seems to me that, like I said before, the majority of so-called Republicans who follow Trump, they are not interested necessarily in the Republican Party, and they're not going to have anything like the same passion for a Vance or a Rubio. That's just not going to happen.
Right.
And meanwhile, the left is as motivated as you and I have ever seen it. And the fact that we have not fixed the ability, we've not protected our voting process. You know what's going to happen in 26, and you know what's going to happen in 28. And it seems to me that Donald Trump might have led what we call conservatism into the desert. So enjoy the remaining 4 years and then see what happens. It seems to me that, again, he is stimulated the left in ways that we have never seen. Their hatred for Reagan and George Bush W, That's nothing like this. And then let's not forget, go back to the theme of women. White women in particular, educated white women, have lost their minds. They're fascists. They want government to be fascist with their ideological progressivism. I'll tell you, I've said it before, I will say it again. The Republicans won't do it because I don't know, but they won't. But the Democrats will, once they have power, they will get rid of the filibuster. That's gone. And in the Senate, it's going to be a 1-vote majority. They've already told you that they should have done it before. If the Republicans were smart, they would do it first and try to secure, to the degree they could, constitutional values. But as we hear from our listeners and from our watching ourselves, the Republicans aren't as keen on the Constitution as we think they are. And then you've got what, right? I mean, once they do that, I do believe that 10 years from now, Puerto Rico and DC will have senators. I think there'll be 13 or 15 justices, and that will all be expanded under Democrat control. I think when that happens, then you're going to have what you have in Europe, basically one liberal progressive government moving forward.
Interesting.
I think conservatives is on its last legs.
Well, I think they definitely want it to be. I think there's the majority across the country truly want us to go back to a normal way of life, whatever that means. Because I mean, if you go back to every decade, it's kind of funny. I've always wondered what normal means because it has been so abnormal for so long. But I know that there are a lot of really good people out there who truly just want the Constitution represented. They want to be able to have elections that are real. They want all the right things, and I think that actually applies to the majority of this country and a lot of rural America and a lot of true America. Okay, and so when they're checking all the boxes, when they're doing all of those things, I think they're trying really hard to get us to believe that the presidency runs the country. And so whether you agree with me or you agree with, Pastor, you agree or you agree with both, whatever. I believe that they want us to believe in the presidency that badly so that we don't pick up those arms that we have, that we don't do something to revolt. So I think it's just to keep us very, very happy, the masses happy.
Part of the reason for that belief is because Congress has refused to do their job for 40 years. I mean,
but I think it's more like I think it's bigger than refusing, though. I think it is designed.
Oh, no, that's fine. That's fine. But my point is that, of course, people turn to the president because the Congress refuses to do anything.
Right.
And by all means, it's not an accident. And so when you move away from the responsibility of Congress and you project that on the president unconstitutionally, then you're in a position where the deep state is in a much better position. We only have to that one position has already, when people are looking to the president for all this that should be coming from Congress, they've already succeeded incredibly of undermining what a constitutional republic is. And we're here, and it wasn't Trump who did it, although Trump is expanding like everybody else.
Right.
So I think that's part of it. And the other thing that I think you left out is, I think there are a lot of people like you and me in our 50s who want to go back to the way things were. But the problem is, look at the 35 and youngers. They don't know a damn thing about Congress. Their whole life has been spent with an imperial president, right? They don't know any of this stuff. We may want it, but we're at the age now where we're we're daydreaming about a past that's probably not ever coming back again. And when these young kids who have been the mother's milk of education with them has been socialism for 30, 40 years now.
Right.
I mean, put the 35 and unders in charge. This will be a socialist country immediately. And so that's coming down the road, isn't it? I mean, in 20 years, you and I are an afterthought, but these kids are going to be running stuff, and they have no before like we had a before to go back to.
Right. We'll take the caller, but I do want to say Media is gone. I mean, I know that we won't be on forever, and that we were purged. There's a definite purging that's gone on, and and I just want people to realize that media is gone. The arguments controlled, the counter arguments controlled, and until people actually realize that, and I mean really realize it, we're in trouble, because you're not gonna find hardly anybody exposing it. All right, caller, go right ahead. You're live.
Hey, greetings, Kate.
Hi.
Yeah, I agree with you to the point that media is dead because people have awakened to the fact that it's controlled and bought off.
Mm-hmm.
The same parties. For that reason,
Mm-hmm.
I'm predicting
Mm-hmm.
there will be independent candidates who are hardcore constitutionalists who know what the Constitution is, and these 35-year-olds, not the ones in college. The ones that are out there working and have barnuminiums where they're building their homes, growing their gardens, and they're having their babies at home. No, they're not going to vote for a party. They're going to vote for people that stand for something that will put feet to the fire.
Yeah.
Now, they might not get anything passed for now, but right now in Tennessee, guess what they're working on? Getting rid of property tax so that you don't lose your home if you can't afford to pay a bill.
Well,
that's real.
Let's hope, right? It never should have been enacted in the first place. So let's hope. My gosh, thank you for that. Let's get thanks for that, by the way. Pesta, thoughts?
No, I think that in Gen Z, we're seeing obviously more conservative thought, and a lot of kids that aren't going to college, as he pointed out, are going into the trades. I think that's the hope. And of course, Charlie, whatever you think of Charlie Kirk, he was kind of the ringmaster of that. That's why, you want to talk about deep state.
Yeah.
There's somebody they had to kill, right? I know Candace wants to go on about how compromised he was in Israel and all that stuff. But what the caller who just said
She's
in
Tennessee
is I think he's right, that there's a lot of younger people even who are pushing the other way.
Right.
But the numbers, the Democrats, the Democrats, the demographic has got to change here. And so you had said that Candace was probably right about Charlie. So that does beg the question. If Charlie himself was working for the deep state as
in the beginning,
Candace,
I'm sure. I mean, well, not just in the beginning, but I think Turning Point was a creation of the deep state.
Okay. If that's true, then we really don't have an honest younger group of people who are going to go the other way. If what you're telling me is true,
they'll be led.
All right. If that's true, then how can what the caller just said be true? Where does it come from? And how are they working independently going to change anything?
If I were people out there, I would not join groups that are very large. I would stay away from that, to tell you the truth. I think that there's so much infiltration. There's absolutely zero way. I've had people contact me and want me to get into all these different nationwide groups, and I won't do it. I would never do it because I know they're controlled. The money is behind them. They have a lot of different agendas going on, even if it is to just twist a little bit, people's belief in things. And what would be better for the deep state is to eyeball something like Turning Point and turn it into something that leads a lot of kids that actually want really good things, but leads them away and gives them the 10% BS on the 90% of truth that's going to be told, but the 10% spin. So I would never join a group. I just will not do it. So
no, I don't blame you for that, but that does beg the question. Where are you going to get the money then? Where are you going to get the money to make to fight this, to wage these battles? Many of the people that the last caller were talking about, people in rural places who are working with their hands and having their babies at home. I get that. But the more you are separated, I mean, it seems to me that how do you get any momentum? How do you get momentum to change the system? How do you do it?
It's tough. It's tough because the Tea Party did this, and then of course it was infiltrated. So,
and you say
with Newt.
You
Newt,
say
yeah.
TPSU is the same way,
I
you
do.
say, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, can you
100%.
name, obviously, when you say we don't join any big organizations, what you're saying is they're all compromised.
Yes, I
So
do.
how then does random groups of individuals make a difference in government, in
because if
the
enough
economy?
people are doing something that is not well funded, it actually can create a lot of change if a lot of people are just doing the same thing, and that is exposing what's happening. So as people wake up to that, it doesn't you don't have to fall in line with a well-funded organization. It's like the Proud Boys, very infiltrated. I mean, all these groups are, and so I don't know why people keep falling for it. It's like I just never would. All you have to do is go look at the money and go look and see how well orchestrated these things are. I just would not do it under any circumstance. I would not join a large group, but just keep talking the truth, which is what I'm doing. And I hope people support this show. And financially, we're not well funded, folks. This is not a well funded organization. So, but we keep saying truth, and I'm hoping that resonates.
Yeah, I guess you'd have to do that. And all the other callers that we've had on would frequently make the same argument. You've got to educate at the local level.
Right.
Fair enough.
Yep.
Who's doing the educating? I mean, this is the problem.
Yeah.
Certainly there's nothing wrong with the minds of younger people. They just have not been exposed.
Right.
To our history, to the struggle for freedom, how tenuous it is. As I said, I mean what I said as a practicing professor in a university right now, seeing 21, 22, 24-year-old kids. They're not even kids anymore. They're adults who are termed children because they're in college. I'm telling you, they are oblivious to and uninterested in many cases to what came before. They're only concerned about them and what they're going to have and what they can't get that they want. They've got the social media has lied to them about having everything without having to work for anything. And that's, if you look down history, it seems to me some of our most violent revolutions and civil wars and genocides have come when jealousy drives people. I mean, and that seems to be what we're seeing from the younger. We can't get what you had. They don't pay attention to how hard people had to work, what they got.
Right.
They just see that they can't do it. And that's a very volatile place to be.
Yeah. I will say this. I for the same reason that people watch WWF wrestling. Isn't that what it's called?
Yeah.
WWF. Okay.
Or it used to be. I don't know if it's
who knows? For the same reason that they are engaged in that and watching it, even though they know how scripted it truly is. I think the same goes on with football these days too. But let me just say that the office of president is more about the American people being entertained. We are entertained consistently. The youth of the country rely on being entertained. This is why reels, short form videos are skyrocketing through the roof and have been for a long time, is because we just want to sit and be entertained. To think, to put yourself into a situation where you actually have to ask yourself questions or think about anything is almost gone. And that's what needs to be resurrected. So we need to just have people continuously doing podcasts, continuously putting information out there on social media that is just truth. And let's hope people gravitate. Something in their spirit says, yeah, I'm hearing something true. I hope. But it's tough.
What you said just now is circum et panem. Right? Bread and circuses.
Yes,
the old,
bread and circuses.
One of the things that pulled down the Empire of Rome, right?
Yes.
You keep them occupied and you give them make sure that the most basic aspects of life are given to them, right?
Yes.
Bread and circuses. That's exactly right.
100%.
And that's where we are. Now, the only thing I would say about in your last comment, I think if you're going to suggest that most of our culture is overwritten by the deep state. You're telling me that social media isn't completely 100% co-opted by that.
Oh, they are
And
100%.
right.
Yeah.
And so the idea that you're going to keep publishing truth on a hostile profile program doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
No, but you can try. I mean, there's only so many things you can do, because all the editors of all these newspapers now across the country in every small town, they're very liberal. And I know, because I know them. They're jokes. They're complete jokes. The one local, the two local to me, complete jokes. They're totally liberal. So they won't even print op-eds if you send them in. I mean, it's tough to get anything even written from a truth point of view. So yeah, they've been working for a long time at infiltration in our newspapers and media. And now we are seeing this product of this, right? This result. And this is why people like me get purged. It's why it's hard to find any footing. So when you come across somebody that's not funded, pay attention. What are they actually saying? Because they're putting themselves out there. And it's not easy. So
no, I mean,
very few.
In terms of social media, you've got really only X that allows. I mean, to me, one of the great success stories of free speech in the 21st century is what Musk has done with X. The fact that Musk allows the right to parody the left is amazing. It's driving the progressives crazy, and it's actually, pricking their balloons. I mean, I've said this before, I don't think Donald Trump would have won if it weren't for people being able to speak out against the progressives on X in ways they had been banned for doing so in 2020. I mean, to me, that's a big deal. And there's a lot of people on X who say horrible things about Musk, and most of them are allowed to say it. So, I mean, that's an example. And when you allow genuine freedom to speak on those platforms with everybody else, then a lot of people get turned to it, right? I mean, because the truth is, once you're presented with the truth, then you become more curious for it. But where do you find it on TV? Not even Fox News do you get it from. Where do you look to find those few outlets that do that? I suppose you should find them, but then when you start, then do you start donating to them? And
yeah, let's hope.
Right?
Let's hope we care enough about freedom of speech, the last remaining bit of it, that we do something to shore it up. And so, yeah, I think it's going to be vital to us, but I don't think we realize that we're going to have to sacrifice to keep it alive. A lot of people just want free entertainment. They want free media. And as long as that happens, you're going to get dosed your free media into the argument being controlled and the counter argument being controlled. And if people start really seeing that, they're actually more apt to pay for blogs and podcasts for people that actually are speaking the truth. I think there's a shift that happens when you go, oh my gosh, I can't get anything that's true, that's truly true. So maybe I shouldn't be looking for free freedom of speech, and actually start seeking it out and then shoring it up and helping it. Because the only way we turn the boat around is to get people to shore up that which is not well funded. And if we don't do that, we deserve everything we get. We really do, because we're not striving to make it better, right? We only desire more entertainment.
Well, for a long time in this country, people had the attitude that what they wanted is the freedom to seek the things they care about. Now, like you said, we have a culture, particularly for the younger people, where they want the stuff. They don't want the freedom to go earn and make and create. They want the stuff. They don't want the freedom. They want the stuff. And that is so deeply ingrained in so many. I mean, think about what happened when the Democrats shut down the government, and how many people who got on all the social media completely entitled, right? Yeah. That you can't take my money. If you take my money that you have to pay because you have to pay for my babies, then I'm going to steal. I'm going to go in the store, Walmart. I'm going to steal from the store. That kind of attitude is everywhere. You see it all over. Now, the last caller from Tennessee would probably argue, yeah, but there's a lot of good kids who are working hard. I get it. But where is the where's the moment, the movement of this? Who has the momentum, right? I mean, those kids are trying hard to do the right thing. I get it. But you have huge conglomerates. You have, like you said, the vast majority of media is already gone.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, the college and the public schools are ruining 60 million kids every, in public schools. That's a hard mountain to climb.
Well, we are certainly trained to always look for a leader instead of being the leader. And as long as that happens, and as long as we buy into that, just like people sit around and go, what is Trump going to do next for us? And we wait and we wait to be entertained and we wait to see what the next move is, instead of having a lot of people leading this out in exposing and taking the opportunity to sacrifice a little bit to do it. What we're doing is then we're shoring up these lies. We're shoring up this idea that we have to belong to a group. We have to, that we consistently put eyeballs on mainstream media, thinking that it's going to change, or that, they're going to be made to be true. None of that's going to happen. And as long as we're getting it free, as we always have, a lot of us in our age group, we're so used to just turning it on and there it is for you. And we know the sponsors make money, right? But the problem is that we still don't understand that we have to lead out. The people have to do this. And as long as we don't do it, we don't get anywhere, because we're not willing to do it. It's a sacrifice to do it. This show is a sacrifice. I mean, it is a sacrifice to study and to look at what's not being said and what's being said. So shore up your media. And if you want more truthful media, support those bloggers out there and those podcasters that are actually saying what's true. And it's so easy to know because they're not well-funded. The well-funded ones I'd stay away from. I truly would. I'm hoping that we're learning that lesson now. I really do.
But you'd like to think that the ones that are good should get rich, right?
You would think. It's not how it works.
But at the point when they do, are they compromised then? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. I mean, we had this conversation, right, a couple of weeks ago. And I would say if the audience is over 1 million, you should probably be more leery. You should be very leery because they set up the argument, they set up the counter argument, and they control both. And if everyone realizes what I'm saying when I say that, then you finally, I think, get eyes that can see what's happening to us and how we are entertained and how we're led and guided to believe that the presidency is real in this country. And I don't think it's been real for a long time. And, here's a case in point for you. I'm going to pivot to this for just a second. There was a great article actually in the New American that put out Pearl Harbor, the anniversary of Pearl Harbor yesterday, right? And my grandfather was on a ship during Pearl Harbor. Okay, so here's the title of it. This is by James Perloff. Hawaii was surprised, FDR was not. Okay, this has been very well known for a long time that we were not surprised by Pearl Harbor as they put it out to us and lied to us, that we knew it was going to happen. Not only did we know it was going to happen, we wanted to be in that war. There were certain objectives of World War II that needed to happen for the deep state, and that we wanted to be in this. And so this isn't a surprise, but what's interesting to me is that somebody like me says it. I'm the conspiracy theorist that has only a theory but I think that it's been so proven over the years. So if they would lie about Pearl Harbor, World War II, how do we not think they wouldn't lie about World War III that's coming, right, eventually? And how would people not think that they were lied to about JFK or 9/11 or any of it? I mean, I can't believe anyone actually trusts that the elections are real, or trusts that the presidency runs the country, or actually trusts anything that they ever say, because you can go back even to Pearl Harbor and know that we were lied to. I mean, don't you find it just insane that we're still trying to get people to understand that Pearl Harbor, even though it's been proven, Pearl Harbor, they knew about, they lied to the American people. They lied to us. And still, there's just people still believe in the government.
Well, the question is this.
Amazing.
Are we saying that the American government knew that the Japanese were going to attack? Or are we saying that the American government urged to, or enabled to, or encouraged the Japanese to attack? I think they're different things.
I think it was deliberately withheld, and I think that they actually bold-faced lied to the American people about it.
But what did they lie about?
I think they lied that it was a surprise, that it was that we were surprised it was coming.
Right. So they knew that the Japanese were going to attack. They may not have known where, but and I get it. That is a big lie. But that's not the same as saying that somehow the Americans were complicit with what the Japanese did. Or that because unless you're saying that there was no difference between the American government in 1941 and the Japanese government, that they were working in cahoots. Now, that doesn't make sense to me. But
not all. But I think there were a few, yes, that sincerely desired, because remember, the office of the presidency was pretty much taken over in the early 1900s. So they commandeered that post, right? And so if people realize that, go read The President Makers, right, by Don Fotheringham. It spells it out beautifully. If people do understand that, then you come to this conclusion that a few of the people in our government, maybe more, but a few of the people actually did understand and know that this was directed because of the things that they wanted out of World War II. So not all people in government would know. I think this is very much compartmentalized, but I think the deep state's been alive and well for hundreds of years. And I think that they are very good at crafting and getting infiltrated into certain positions, and that they have handlers. There's people that have handlers, and that there's a certain direction of movement towards how we take the American people. And if we want to take them into war, even though after World War I, we were promised there wouldn't be another one because it wasn't even called World War I, right? So because we didn't think there was going to be a two. And so in order to do that, they had to play these cards very handily in order to get people to be patriotic towards it. And it had to be a surprise attack, just like 9/11 had to be a surprise to throw us into the Iraq war. They used the same playbook over and over again because it works. But if you want to just halt on the comment to that, because I do want you to comment on that. Let's take a quick call. Go ahead, caller. You're live.
Hi, good afternoon,
Hi.
folks. I would say, Kate, I'm in agreement with you that the whole thing was contrived, World War II. All the wars are. And, I don't know, was it the USS Liberty that was shot upon? And, we didn't allow, we didn't do anything about it. So they wanted World War II. Albert Pike talked about it in the 1800s. He predicted, Scottish Rite Freemason. He predicted World War I, predicted World War II before these wars even happened. Obviously, it was in the 1800s, and predicted World War III. He said World War III is going to be between the nation that you're not allowed to talk about, the Christians and the Muslims. And you see them building that up right now. And there's going to be people, especially folks that have learned from academia, that will not believe that this thing is contrived, even though there's so many people like us talking about it, that it's coming, but they won't listen to us. And when we say, hey, we pointed this out, they'll still say, oh, it's a conspiracy theory.
Right.
Even when you could point to these things that, laid it all out.
Right.
And as far as Pearl Harbor is concerned, they put all the ships that were of any importance out at sea. And they left all the junky ones in the harbor. I mean, they knew what was coming. It's so obvious.
Yeah, I think it
does anger me. And the one thing I wanted to comment too that you said about joining a large group, when you first get into this information, that's your instinct is to join a group. And then when you learn more and more, you realize the spider web that we're entangled in. And it's like you start reading Sun Tzu and the Prince, and any group that has 5 or more people of any influence can and will be infiltrated.
Amen, brother. Thank you. I really appreciate the phone call. I agree. I so agree with that. Like 100%. Yeah. So true. All right. So on Pearl Harbor, I also wanted to mention, Dr. Pesta, the university spending $10 million. This is also on the New American. University of Colorado pays $10 million to students. Staff denied religious exemptions for the shots. This is good news coming out.
Sure.
I was actually excited to see that.
Yeah, I mean, that is good. I mean,
so there are some good things.
Yeah, I mean, the judge system in this country is either good or bad. It's one or the other.
Yes.
There are the ones who follow the Constitution and the ones who don't.
Yep.
And that was a decision that was in line with the Constitution. So
I love that. Anything else that you were paying attention to that you wanted to mention?
No, we're a little bit over time anyway. So I think we've had our last word, and I look forward to talking to you next Monday.
I love it. Thank you, Duke. Really always appreciate you coming on, because I like to spar with you. I think it's really fun, and I think it's really good maybe to hear so many different sides. I actually really enjoy it.
You and I are not that far apart.
Yeah, we're not.
It gets magnified, but but I think we're on the same page most of the time. We just may disagree about like what I said about Pearl Harbor. I mean, like I said, if you ask me to believe that the American government knew of the war, I have no problem with that. If you want to turn around and say to me that Roosevelt and the Emperor of Japan were sitting down and working together, no, I'm not going to go that far. But other than that, I think we're right. I mean, at the end of the day, that doesn't matter. The lie was that Roosevelt wanted to be in the war. He wanted to end fascism in Europe. And if this is the best way to do it, because the Congress wasn't going to go along with it, you allow something like this to happen so that you have a angry populace who changes on a dime, right?
Right. Thank you. I really appreciate you. Dr. Duke Show. Dr. Duke Pesta has been coming on a long time. Really always love talking with him. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Awesome. See you next week.
Okay. All right. I have more. So there's more to say, especially in this show today. All right. So a couple of things. There was also that is a big deal about the lawsuits, because I'm just hoping people really realize that about the lawsuits, about the University of Colorado actually having to pay out because they denied religious exemptions. So that's a good move. So you can feel good about that today. There's a lot. See, I think the difference between Dr. Duke and I is Dr. Duke Pesta and he's been doing phenomenal work. The first time I ever met him was Common Core, when he was speaking out about Common Core, and I had him as a guest on the show. And then he became a regular, and it's been always really good to be able to talk with him. But I think the main difference between us, honestly, if I had to pick one, would be I feel that it's a lot more controlled than the average person. And I don't think it involves everybody having to be controlled. I think that there are a precious few that actually understand and know the infiltration and why they're there and what the agenda is. And I actually think it's Satan's agenda. I really do. And I think that it's way more controlled over the last 125 years than we want to think it is. So that's probably the main difference between us. And that's why I'm always coming from this point of view. Hi, caller. Welcome to the show. Go right ahead.
Yeah, Kate, hey. Very interesting. Yeah, show there with Mr. Duke. Are you aware that this week 1,000 pastors, I believe it's this week, are headed to Israel?
No.
Okay, they are. In fact, a lot of people. I'm not saying that Tucker Carlson is reporting this, but I know he's been mentioning stuff like this for a while now, and that's where I'd throw in on what you guys were talking about. Admiral Kimmel's grandson, Mr. Kimmel, he became the FBI Inspector General back in the 90s and late 80s. And he is the one that really got the ball rolling on basically vindicating his grandpa and what have you, because they were in 1999, they were exonerated officially, 4 decades after they were scapegoated by Mr. not Roosevelt, Rosenfeld. Yes, he was Jewish. And that's keep that in mind, because 9 out of 10 Americans opposed entry into World War II until Pearl Harbor.
Okay.
So when you look at that and you look at now these 1,000 pastors going to Israel, a nation that is conducting a genocide on our dime, it is time to have this conversation full bore. So while I appreciate some of the things in the New American, I do read it. I was at one time a John Birch Society member, but I read the American Free Press newspaper. The newspaper of John Wayne, and bringing up the USS Liberty and why they did it, and on and on. So we're at that point in time. Otherwise, Kate, I believe it's the destruction of America. if
All right.
if we remain occupied, as Candace Owens is more and more saying. So I appreciate everything you're doing. And by the way, are you going to have? You said you have the ear of Jeff Rents. Have you made any headway in maybe having him on?
Not yet, but I'm working on it. I'm working on a lot of guests actually. So a couple of guests might be coming on this week. So yeah, it's crazy. This show's nuts.
Well, could you have on Phil Turney?
What's that?
Phil Turney, could you have him on?
Possibly.
Yeah, you know who I'm talking about, right?
Yes. Thank you. I really appreciate the call. I really do. Thank you for that.
Right.
I do. There's a couple of things that I wanted to get to. Number one, before I talk about Elon for just a moment, I want to bring you some new things on Elon. Just some things to think about that I find important. But and it kind of goes to the whole idea that we are very, very we're dumb people. I mean, there's just so much brainwashing. It's not even funny, but so it's going to lend itself to that. But I do want to say this. Look, I've been drinking this today, and I have it here at work with me. This is Cardio Miracle. Actually, I just mixed it into a bottle for myself. And by the way, I didn't even have a funnel. I had to actually create one out of a paper plate so I could put it in my bottle. I just shared that with you. But this stuff is truly amazing. And I was watching my husband make it on his way out the door this morning. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, we love Cardio Miracle. It has been amazing for us. So I really do hope that you've ordered it. I really do. And all you got to do is go to cardiomiracle.com/Kate. It just helps so many things. It helps in so many ways. I could go on forever about all the things it does, but it is truly, don't just think of the word cardio, but just miracle. It is truly, it's a mineral delivery system to your body. So I know you need it because we're all so deficient. So we're walking around as deficient people in minerals, and that's why all these symptoms keep coming out, okay? And why people get so sick. So please up your mineral count, please. And this has been awesome. I dig it. I love it. I'm telling you, I didn't realize how amazing it was before. And now that I do, I'm not without it. So, okay, let me talk a little bit about Elon, shall I? I just want you to go and really examine this because I think this is pretty eye-opening for people to think of it in kind of a different way. I did a show on Elon where I talked about how he was propped up as a front man. And I did this show and so many people did not agree with me, okay? In fact, they were just like, oh no, he's speaking to the conservatives and he speaks about freedom. There's no way that he's owned. But I want you to really examine him again, okay, for just a moment. And I want you to think about the companies that he has started. When he started out, he was sort of nobody knew him, no name, whatever, no name, okay? And he invents, I'm going to say it in air quotes, he invents this app that's really about mapping cities, okay? I think something that actually was pretty generic, and I think that it was already made. But okay, we'll say that he invented this. And then he turned around and sold it for 300 million plus. Okay, I've done this show where I've talked about the fact that he was set up as a front man. And what I find kind of interesting is last week I was talking a little bit about Starlink, and I was talking about the investors coming out and going, hey, we're eyeing Starlink for a public IPO. You know, it's gonna have its IPO and it's gonna be made public. So you'd probably want to get in on this because it's going to change the face of the future. It's going to buy out AT&T. It's going to buy out all the big guys, and this is going to be it's satellite, it's phones essentially for everybody. Okay, and how that's going to work. So, and that this could happen even as early as January, but projected to happen in the next couple of years, whatever. And so there were a lot of people coming out and saying, you know, hey, if I were going to tell you what to get into, like I predicted Amazon and Facebook, you should get into Starlink. Okay. But I want you to take a closer look at this, just in a different way. So he comes out with this company, and a month later, after he sells and he gets money from a front CIA company, okay, for his mapping thing that was so amazing, they came in and paid this nobody who looked like a little troll. Okay, Elon looks completely different now. They pay this, they pay him off, but he doesn't make 300 million plus. Okay. He makes around 22 million after everything is said and done. So here's this guy who they say invented this app in the 90s, sells this app, and 1 month later takes his entire 22 million, I guess didn't go buy anything, takes his entire $22 million. Okay, that's not a lot of money. Okay. And he invests it into what? Because if you're a tech guy and you've just done an app and you've actually invented the app, aren't you probably going to do something like that again? I mean, the internet's new. And of course, this would be a great time to then go, okay, I'm going to do another thing that's even bigger than the mapping thing. This app, I'm going to do something, I'm going to do a totally different app, okay, or something along the same lines, because if this is where your talent is. But no, he didn't. He went into banking, okay? He became an internet bank that they called X. So you have to go through all the hoops. You have to go through all the regulatory. You have to go through all of these things. You have to have a certain amount on the books, okay? So you're thinking, okay, so he went into banking, complete pivot, okay, from anything he'd ever done, and he was the president CEO of this internet bank. Now go back to when banking became online. Usually, if anyone, I would think, would have to or would want to be enticed in order to do banking online, you would think that they would take a brick and mortar and that they would have an outlet online by which you would want to do banking, because most people are never going to be comfortable doing banking on something that's brand new on the internet, which they already don't trust. Okay. So that wasn't the case, though. In fact, the valuation for Elon's bank actually went through the roof. That's weird. And a bank that was sort of side by side with him at the time, okay, because this was all brand new. People weren't jumping on the internet to shop and stuff yet, really, truly. I mean, it really wasn't to that stage where people felt really comfortable doing that. But we're talking about this other bank that was side by side. If you wanted to do a comparison, this other bank never really flourished. It actually caved, I think, around 2005, 2006. But Elon's was so amazing. And so if you do any research on this, they will say that it was profitable, that it was, they had millions of people that were actually banking online with Elon. But that's not exactly the truth. There weren't millions of people banking. So people might have been enticed to sign up, but not actually a user of the account. Okay. So think back to the 90s. Okay. And not everyone was utilizing the internet. All right. Not everybody had the capability to utilize the internet, and it certainly wasn't on our phones. So the idea of X coming along and him doing a complete and total pivot career-wise, I'm not saying it hasn't been done before, but it's just a little odd, because then you have to look at his next pivot. But he goes in and they say that PayPal comes to him, Peter Thiel, and that as he's owning X, and they want to merge with him. Well, X, the bank in the late 90s, didn't have any capability of doing peer-to-peer banking. That was what PayPal was based on. So why did PayPal need X? Okay. Why didn't PayPal just be PayPal? Why did they need to merge with X? Well, they're saying it was because Elon had a lot of money. He had all the money, the capital, and the vision. But he actually didn't have any vision because he never thought of the peer-to-peer. PayPal comes along, ousts him as president. Okay. So the front man's removed as president. They merge and they become PayPal. PayPal completely changes its direction, okay? And it's completely, I think, CIA funded through In-Q-Tel, through all their different outlets of hidden funding that they have, okay, to shore all these things up to make them look very private. So so the question remains, because if you do any research on this like I did, you're constantly told that Elon had vision, he was a genius, and that he had the money. Well, he really didn't have the money. There wasn't a whole lot of money, okay, and that he had. And then also, he didn't really have the vision. because he didn't have that idea. So PayPal takes it over. Okay. PayPal becomes PayPal. So if you go look at Elon, you'll see that everything goes, oh, yeah, he was the creator of PayPal. No, he wasn't. Because PayPal, as we know it, is a completely different genre of peer-to-peer banking. Okay. And there's a lot of data in that. And there's a lot of ways to control how money moves between people. Okay. A very CIA thing to do. So now he goes into SpaceX. Complete another pivot into space. Interesting. And then says that he took the money from this merger, right? And the success of PayPal, which his name was attached to, which he was attached to for some unknown reason. And that now he is the owner of SpaceX back in 2002. And he's running off to Russia and he's doing all these things that CIA people do. Okay. So making deals and whatnot. Okay. So what's interesting is X was never really profitable. Okay. SpaceX has never actually been extremely profitable. All right. So what they say now is that Starlink is the one since 2023 that was able to break a profit that supports SpaceX. Where's all the money coming from? And if you're a super genius and you obviously have all this vision, don't you find it kind of interesting that nothing he was really doing, everything that he was really doing said the valuation was on paper. It was never actually providing the income, doing the income that everybody thinks in their minds that it was doing. The money was coming from somewhere and being spent on things that you and I can't own. We can't own SpaceX. Okay. So when you're really looking at Elon, he doesn't have a track record of vision, anything, truly. There wasn't a success record of profitability that would have explained his money, truly. Okay, because they waited till 2023 to say that Starlink finally, because Starlink didn't really make any money either. The output was a lot, but it wasn't really doing what I think people thought it was doing. Okay, but the history books now say that, oh, it was his success of X, his success of SpaceX, his success of Starlink, right, and his success of Tesla. But Tesla didn't even actually really get a huge profit until like 2020. So what was he doing for all those years, right? In the 2000s, and then of course from 2010 to 2020, what was going on there that would have provided him with all this money? Because yeah, you can look good on paper, but why would they be doing a valuation on paper and consistently saying that on paper you look good and we're valuating you high when investors still at the same time know that there isn't much being made, right? There's a lot of money going in. Okay. So you're thinking, well, is it money laundering? I mean, is this how they do it and how they try to say that these are all private companies when actually they're held by frontmen like Jeff Bezos and Mark Zuckerberg and Elon? Because if you really examine where he's coming from and what he has actually done, you're going to find a lot of holes in the story. It is not going to be what you think it is. When you start to look back, you're like, wait a minute, what was he so successful at? What was he actually doing? Where was the money actually coming from? And for somebody to hard pivot 3 different times, and I don't mean within the same sort of genre, I mean completely different genres, from tech apps to banking to space, okay? Then to satellite, right? Internet, okay? To cars. So is he a front man being dispersed into all of these, made to look like boy genius, made to look like a gazillionaire, and made to look like that he's capable of doing all these things? Same thing with Bill Gates. Okay, Bill Gates never really did anything successfully, and Windows was actually already coming to pass by Air Force intelligence and so that's why you saw the articles in the mid 70s saying that that the personal computer, that the computer was already there, the Altair. Okay. Bill Gates never actually did anything, but then Bill Gates is a boy genius and does all of this business as the head of Microsoft. Okay. And then hard pivots into health and vaccines, hard pivots into all these other areas. I just found it a little weird, a little similar. Okay. So just looking back at Elon, if you were an investor and you were really looking at Elon and what he's actually done and hasn't done, I don't think you'd find a lot of success there. I don't think you're going to find what we've been told in the history books. Because even if I put out there, and I did this with the internet, okay, so we only had certain amount of people even on the internet back in the 90s, and banking was not successful on the internet. That's why the other company that was competing with X actually caved, because it couldn't be profitable. People didn't want to do business. They didn't feel comfortable, right, with online banking yet, only for very trivial things. But I'm talking, you just wouldn't have felt comfortable. People wanted a brick and mortar. They just wanted to know their money was secure. So it couldn't have worked. So that's why I don't know if people really will take the time to go back and examine who these people really are, and how they actually got the money, because the story keeps contradicting itself over and over and over again. The first thing that the media will tell you is that he was such a visionary and such a success that everyone wanted to do business with him. But in actuality, he really wasn't that successful. If you really start to ask the right questions, okay, because as you start to think about it, you're like, now, wait a second, how many banks were, because they'll say, oh, he was the first successful online bank, but he wasn't a success. Okay. Then all of a sudden, SpaceX is going for how many years and never producing really anything except an evaluation on paper. As you'll notice, it was always could do, would do, eventually someday will produce XYZ, but never really producing XYZ. So what are these companies? What are they truly about? What are they really there for? And that I think is very interesting, because it seems as though whenever we're doing some sort of breakthrough, like Amazon, like Facebook, right? A whole new way of like social media, a whole new way of buying things online. It seems to be with these types of individuals that keep resurfacing as boy geniuses. And the media is always quick to frame the story, yet never ask a single question. They never ask, well, wait a second, online banking wasn't solid or good in the late 90s. No one will ask that question. Everyone will go, oh, well, he was a success because he was a genius. So I think that if we're not really examining the stories we're told, and we're told so many, like Pearl Harbor, how long were we told the story of Pearl Harbor before people finally started realizing that something was wrong with this story, that there was way more going on than we had anticipated? And they wanted to foster patriotism at the time. Same thing with the moon, same thing with Vietnam. They had to foster patriotism to get our eyes off the ball. And as long as our eyes weren't on the ball of the result of World War II, like the UN coming in, like all of these things that were devised through World War II, that came as a result from World War II, then you don't ask the right questions. And with people like Elon and people like, and I know that he sounds good sometimes. There are times where I go, yeah, I totally agree with that. Doesn't mean he's genuinely some sort of patriot. It means that that he is more or less designed to say things that people will resonate with. Otherwise, you wouldn't really. There would be a lot of people that wouldn't respect that. Also, we have a lot of people that sincerely will not ask any questions about these people's past. They, for some reason, even though they know in their own real life that these things don't happen, okay, the way that people don't give $10 million to a snotty-nosed college student, okay? And that's something that's going, like Facebook, that is going to change the face of social media for so many, okay? And that you're going to put that kind of money into somebody that was 100% not proven. Just 100% has never done anything else. You're not going to put that kind of money into it. You might fund them a little bit to see where they do with it. They'd have to prove themselves. That's how the real world works, right? But they wouldn't be given this amount of money, these large amounts of money, and then stay on as the face of the organization. So these things actually really don't happen. But for some reason, we are so reluctant to ask better questions about the starts of these people and how they became so prolific in our media and in our culture. And these are the faces of our culture. It's the Jeff Bezos. We're constantly told about his life and his lifestyle and boy genius and yada, yada, yada. Bookstores were not sincerely thriving to a profitability in the 90s. It just wasn't, it wasn't to the tune where you would have him on the Tonight Show talking about all his huge success when it comes to Jeff Bezos. So that's why if we could just truly look at these individuals maybe with a magnifying glass and start to ask better questions, you could probably expose quite a bit, I'm guessing. So I'll take a quick call, and then, of course, we'll wrap this up. But I had to talk about this today because there's so much more to this story. As you start to ask questions, well, wait a second, what was online banking? And the story kept contradicting itself, because anytime I'd ask a question, what it was telling you was phenomenal was then downplayed. Well, he really didn't have very many users. Well, he didn't really have, but in the beginning, the story was he was so successful at online banking at X that it turned into SpaceX, right? But then they would regress, and the internet would then, oh yeah, well, it really wasn't that many. No, it just looked like it could be someday. I mean, it's ridiculous, the stories we're told and believe. All right, caller, go right ahead.
Yes, you're absolutely right about Musk. Let me give you a little bit more on him. Mm-hmm. He works for the conspiracy. He's a traitor to the American people and to our nation. Mm-hmm. A good person to have on your show. You've had her on before, Rebecca Terrell.
Yeah, she actually reached out today, as a matter of fact.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Well, if you bring Musk up with her, because she researched on him, and some of the things she's reporting, these smart cities, they're going to have electronic borders around them, at least some of them. Mm-hmm. And if a car attempts to cross the border, it dies. They have the technology in the cars already.
I have no doubt.
Guess who provided that technology? One of Elon Musk Corporation.
Oh no. And Neuralink too. So he's involved in a lot of things that will prove to be very nefarious for us.
Yeah, and what she says is he made his money off the government. She calls it welfare. Federal welfare made his billions. Mm-hmm. So that's more evidence. And one of his plants, I think it was a SpaceX plant, if I remember, is on the border in Texas of Rio Grande. And the illegals, coyotes and so forth, they search out where it's easy to cross. Mm-hmm. And what they were doing for the longest time before it was exposed is they were crossing into his property because they were allowed to cross there and go in further inland.
Because his property isn't really his property; it's the government's. Because he's a front man.
No, but he's got still a lease on it.
I get it, but everything that is paid for him is basically through the government. So
one last thing, you're absolutely right about Kirk's organization. Kirk has been controlled. He is. I've been going back and listening to so many of his talks. He just lies. He went around the country with Vance Smith, promoting Vance Smith. Excuse me, J.D. Vance. All over the South, they'd have these conferences, and it was all coordinated, and they were both saying the same lies. If I wasn't watching them, I couldn't tell which was talking. And one of the things I saw, Kirk, and answering a question from a student. A student was criticizing Elon Musk, and his response to protect Kirk, to protect Elon Musk, he said, "Well, are you a billionaire?" This is what he's saying to the student, literally. Are you a billionaire? No. Well, you can't. You don't know what's goes on in the mind of a billionaire, so you can't judge him. In other words, there's no right or wrong if you're a billionaire. You could do any amount of wrong. As long as you're a billionaire. They are so desperate to protect him.
Right. Yeah, there is a desperation. Thank you for the call. I really appreciate it, Mark. Desperation is a good word, and the media is very, very good at selling the stories. They're selling the stories. And they say there's about 7 million users of Starlink. I think the numbers are inflated, just like I think the numbers are inflated with the water usage for the AI databases. I think so much is inflated. And on the stories about Elon, you'll find as you start to really examine, you'll just start to see the holes. It's really amazing how many words are used to describe every business he's a part of. But honestly, really look at the money behind it. I can't believe how many holes there are in this story. Same with Bezos, same with Marky Mark Zuckerberg. Frontman, 100%. 100%. And we have a lot more frontmen than that. But these are the ones they like to highlight all the time in our media. We get to hear about their weddings, their lives, their stories about them constantly and how they never retire. Bill Gates never wants to retire. Oh, no, but he's in our health and education. Okay. From computers to health to education. Interesting. And at the forefront, no less. And the only one that the CDC has ever partnered with that's supposedly private is Bill Gates. So there's a lot there that I think needs to be digested by the American people in poking holes, just as you would with the Pearl Harbor story being a surprise. I find this with just about everything I'm looking at and reviewing, but it is pretty amazing what we're told and what we believe. So I leave you with that, not to depress you, but just to expose, because I know Elon gets a lot of conservatives on his side, and I think he's supposed to. I think that he is selling Neuralink. He's selling all of these things that are going to be horrendous for us in the future. So they want people to like him, generally, the main population to like him. So I think that's why the script for Elon is to talk about freedom, to talk about these things a lot, because they have to make him look this way. Otherwise, we'll question more about what he's actually bringing us. Okay. He had a large manufacturer for the shots over in Germany, huge manufacturing business for those shots. No one even talks about that. They only talk about personality. It's only about whether you like him or dislike him, as if you're going to date him, you know? I don't know. Do you want to have his baby or maybe his baby mama? Who knows? But that's basically where the conversation goes. So between the left and the right, it's, do you like him? Basically, do you want to have dinner with him? Then really scrutinizing what he's a part of, because all the things that he's a part of are dangerous for us. Dangerous. No one's even questioning Neuralink, because this is so bad on so many levels. It's so horrendous. And the transhumanism that's coming, but no one will question it because it's Elon, because he says freedomy things. Freedomy things. That's my new word for the day. So don't get suckered in. Don't get suckered into Elon. And it has nothing to do with his personality. It has nothing to do with the left-right game. It's basically eyeballing the fact that he never really was a success at anything. He's just the front man of the government's successes along the way. These entities are very public. They are not private, but it's made to look like a private organization for a reason. So that's our biggest issue right now. That's our big problem right now, is getting over the hurdle of seeing things the way they should be seen. If you start to look at his story, nothing makes sense. His father had government contracts. That makes sense because, of course, he is introduced on the world stage as being some sort of boy genius. And whenever you see that story really marked up, really brought into we're talking cover of Time, we're talking which is a hugely owned government entity, is Time magazine from the beginning. Wasn't it Henry Luce? Anyway, you see that these entities are completely there to propagandize. I mean, that's the only reason we have them. From Newsweek to Time to Life, it's all about propaganda. It was never about just doing nice little stories and making a profit for a magazine. So it was never about that. Freedomectomy. Yes, freedomectomy. Thank you. A comment on Facebook, or a comment on YouTube. I appreciate that. So the show every day, or most of the days I'm on, is live on YouTube and live on Rumble and live on X. And yes, Elon's X. So I'm sure he's enjoying this. But I do want to say, if to get this information out and really start to expose it, please share the show and help the show, because I need you. I truly need you. And also the sponsors of the show. Why are my teeth so white? Because I use the whitener remineralization. It is the most amazing product. I'm telling you, you're going to love this. And they also, so go and do the teeth remineralization, the GCMAF, which is the thing that helps fight cancer, that you have to buy out of Australia, but the link's on my site. Go to my site for All Family Pharma for just, for ivermectin, for those types of things. They have other things too, like antibiotics and things like that. But you don't have to have a doctor's visit. So you're saving the money on the doctor's visit, and then you can buy as many as you want. So it makes it really good. And they're just sent right to your door about 5 days later, 3 to 5 days. So you get to skip the doctor visit. So I have wonderful sponsors. Go to katedalleyradio.com and be a part of that. And I appreciate you doing that. It helps me stay on the air. And then I love, the few of you that are contributors to the show financially that help, because we all know that the freebies are usually wrought with a lot of things that we don't want. And isn't that so in life too, right? The free media is the hook to get you in and stay and then be entertained. And I'll tell you something, I believe in the First Amendment, and I believe in being able to say things. And yes, I've been gutted and censored and everything else continuously since I started telling the truth. When I was a team player and on a Fox News affiliate, didn't happen at all. I got a lot of job offers and had to turn those down because of the things that they want you to side with. And I couldn't do it. I just couldn't do it. Wasn't in me. Maybe it's age. I don't know. Maybe if I was younger, I don't know. I can't say for certain. I don't know. I'm pretty certain I would have said no then too. I just can't say things that aren't like, I have to tell you what I think is actually happening. Right. And I think that's the most important thing I can do in my life. So I really appreciate you guys. Thank you. And be faithful, be fearless. Find out why I say that on katedalleyradio.com. Share the show with people you know so they can have it as well. And thank you. Go get some Cardio Miracle and feel better. I am not kidding. My husband and I won't go without it. I mean, honestly, it's right here. All right, you guys, you're going to love it, and do it twice a day. You'll feel a huge benefit for that as well. So I'll turn this into its own short on Elon, but thanks, you guys. Appreciate you. See you tomorrow.